middle-sized ginger dog. None of the zoo workers who were milling aimlessly around the park had reacted to Abu Laith's outburst. They were used to it. Everyone always said that Abu Laith himself looked like a lion, and it was true. He was 5'6", with a rock-hard keg of a belly and an opaque halo of orange hair. His nose looked like it had been hewn from a boulder and sprinkled with freckles. He spoke in a roar. That was why they called him Abu Laith, which, loosely translated, meant father of lions. Since he could remember, Abu Laith had loved animals and devoted himself to them at the near absolute expense of humans. He had raised dogs, pigeons, rabbits, cats, and beetles, and held them in his hands when they died. For his third eldest daughter's birthday, he had driven a herd of sheep into the family home. He had once given a baby monkey a shower in his garden. He had one ultimate lifelong ambition: to live on a farm with large predators roaming free around him. In Mosul, this was considered a suspect ambition. It had possibly something to do with the restrictions on animals in the Quran and the Hadith. In the holy texts, dogs were listed as haram, forbidden, along with pigs, donkeys, wolves, glowworms, and all such bloodless animals, snakes and chameleons, animals that have blood, but whose blood does not flow. Most people, even if they weren't religious, thought that dogs were dirty and somehow unsavory, in the way that people in Europe felt about rats, plague carriers and unclean beasts that defiled their surroundings. Though some families kept pets, it was considered disreputable to own a lot of animals. Among the people of the great city by the Tigris, animal lovers had a shady reputation as hustlers, fighters, and panhandlers. Pigeon breeders, a fraternity to which Abu Laith also belonged, were especially dodgy. Under the Iraqi legal system, pigeon owners were not considered trustworthy enough to testify in court. They had a reputation for always getting into fights and drinking too much whiskey. Abu Laith fitted the stereotype all too well. He was a shakawa, a kind of good-hearted neighborhood thug, the sort of man you might call if you needed an extra pair of fists in a fight, or if someone was harassing your daughter and needed to be scared off. He would never let anyone else pay for lunch and always lent money to his relatives, grasping as he thought they were. Since he was a young man, Abu Laith had made his living as a mechanic, fixing cars in the neighborhood. At first he'd earned a few dinars here and there, but now he ran a big garage with several employees, where he charged hundreds of dollars to fix large American cars, of the kind favored by Mosul's elite. But this was nothing more than a distraction from his real love: large, dangerous animals. In 2013, he had decided to take an enormous step, which he hoped would change his life for the better. He was going to build his own zoo, a wide open space with a park for animals to roam, and offices and apartment blocks that looked over it. It didn't matter that the city was plagued with suicide attacks and kidnappings. In Abu Laith's mind, the development would be a lot like Dubai: slick skyscrapers and open lands on the bank of a mighty waterway, albeit the Tigris rather than the Persian Gulf. As he gathered together his funds, wrenching money back from tight-fingered relatives and strong-arming investors, he had searched for a plot of land. He discovered that a large swathe of grassland on the eastern bank of the Tigris was for sale. There was already a zoo next door. To Abu Laith, the plan seemed fated to succeed, as long as the two businesses could combine into one large zoo. Once he had finished building the new development, he could buy the animals from the existing zoo, adding new ones if he needed to.